About 13 years ago, I've uploaded on my channel a short clip from the 2004 movie Alexander. The clip refers to the mutiny Alexander had to face in India, and the scene itself had a huge impact on me at that time. Back then, I was still in high school, and Alexander represented a significant part of my life, not just as a historical figure, but as an idea I truly believed in. Anyways, only recently I've noticed that over the years, this video gathered a lot of views and comments, so I thought to make a short clip explaining why I uploaded this video, what Alexander meant for me, and to briefly address a question that tormented me in the past. The question of the so-called unity of mankind. This question has two very different interpretations, and I believe some of you might be familiar with these. In the 19th century, a theory regarding Alexander's campaign in Asia arose. Did he envision a grand design regarding the conquered lands? Although Johann Gustav Droysen was the first to propose this theory, it was Sir William Tarn who in the 1930s established a pattern of how a significant part of the academia regarded Alexander, the theory of Alexander and the unity of mankind, becoming very popular at that time. What was this theory, and what exactly did Tarn argue? Referring to a particular paragraph in Arian, he, Alexander, prayed for other blessings, and especially that harmony and community of rule might exist between the Macedonians and Persians. Tarn proposed the idea that Alexander wanted to unify all the people in a single political entity, where each and everyone would live equally in peace and harmony in this multi-ethnic super-empire. The concept, called homonoia, the Greek idea of order and unity, was not new. Isocrates had already proposed it to Philip, Alexander's father, arguing that the Greek city-states should live in harmony instead of fighting endless wars among themselves. He believed Philip had the power to make this idea a reality within the Greek world. Now, coming back to Tarn, we must remember the context of the 1930s. One world war had already devastated Europe, and many political efforts were being made to bring European nations closer together in order to prevent another. The League of Nations was born from this hope. In this atmosphere, Tarn published his theory on Alexander, and for that reason, I don't judge his idealistic approach too harshly. Tarn's theory on Alexander became very influential in the following decades. But in 1958, a Harvard historian, Ernst Badian, came along and dismantled it completely. The way Badian opens his refutation is memorable. Perhaps a quarter of a century is long enough for the lifespan of a phantom. It is the aim of this article to lay the ghost. In that article, still available online, Badian takes Tarn's arguments one by one and challenges them with careful interpretation of the sources and solid evidence. As a result, Badian's view has largely prevailed to this day, with a few notable exceptions. One of them is Robin Lane Fox, who also advised Oliver Stone on the film Alexander, and tends to see in Alexander more of Tarn's dreamer than Badian's butcher. When I first read Tarn many years ago, I felt that Alexander truly deserved this honorable image. I completely believed in this grand design, that Alexander wanted to unite the peoples of the ancient world. But as I grew older and learned more, I began to realize that things were not as I wanted them to be. Still, I wanted Tarn to be right. I studied the subject, hoping to prove that he was correct and Badian was not. After all, this is one of the reasons I love history. You can look at the same evidence from different perspectives. But even with that mindset, the evidence still supported Badian's theory. In the end, my conclusion was simple. Alexander had no grand plan. He always seemed to be on the move, acting quickly, exploring, pushing forward. In places like Egypt, Babylon, or even the kingdom of Porus, after conquering them, he introduced almost nothing new. He left the local elites in power and placed Macedonian, not Greek, garrisons mainly to control the finances, because he needed the money to continue this never-ending war. And then, he simply moved on. It is also worth remembering that the two historians came from very different personal worlds. Tarn wrote in the hopeful atmosphere of the interwar period, when ideas of international unity and cooperation were gaining ground through the League of Nations. Badian, on the other hand, was a refugee from Nazi persecution. These very different life experiences may have subtly influenced the way each of them looked at Alexander. one seeing a dreamer of unity, the other a far more ruthless conqueror. Setting the grand design theory aside, I would like to end with a more personal conclusion about Alexander himself. For years, I struggled to understand his mindset. What made him so relentless and seemingly unstoppable, beyond the technical explanations about his army, his enemies, or his father's legacy? It is difficult to understand the ancient mind, and modern psychology doesn't really help. But one thing is clear: the man never stopped. He never stopped planning new conquests, new explorations, new wars. Even in the last months before his death in Babylon, after 11 years of continuous campaigning, when his body could barely endure anymore, Arrian tells us that Alexander had assembled an army of 30,000 men, mostly Asians, ready to continue the conquest of the world. How, then, can we understand a man, a king, who left his kingdom and his home never to return, and who remained undefeated for more than a decade? The answer that finally satisfied me came, fittingly, from the ancients. A phrase attributed to Virgil says it best: "They win because they believe they can."